Business owner Faye Haas is suing former employees 34-year-old Kathy Light and 36-year-old Mark Light. Faye claims while managing her bed and breakfast, they stole money from her and wrecked her car. Kathy and Mark are countersuing for harassment and an assault.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 437 on the calendar in the matter of Haas versus Light. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
You are the owner of a bed and breakfast.
Yes,
According
ma'am.
to your complaint, you had hired the defendant to manage your operation when you were out of town. Your complaint is that Mrs. Light wrecked your car and additionally stole a substantial amount of money from you. Mrs. Light denies wrecking your car and, of course, to stealing any money from you, and in addition has countersued for harassment and an assault that took place while she was in your employ. So, Ms. Haas, when did the employment begin?
Well, Kathy came sometime, I was critically injured, and it was sometime in July, and Kathy came and said she needed a job, that she'd never been able to get one, and would I give her a chance, and she's never, to my knowledge, had any kind of job at all, so I said I would give her a chance, but I didn't check any of her records or anything.
That doesn't make you a very good business person.
No, it doesn't.
So she came to work for you in July of the year 2000?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you leave?
Well, actually, I didn't leave till October, but the incident when she wrecked the car, the two cars in particular, were us on September 30th.
Tell me about that.
Well, I was over with my boyfriend, who's now my husband, and I was over at his house in Red Bud, Illinois, and I had asked Kathy to bring me some money over. She was on my checkbook, and I asked her to bring me over $800 that we needed some money for some improvements we were going to do. So we were sitting at this like little bar and restaurant, and she came over there and she was highly intoxicated, and they asked us to leave the bar. So we took her down to Randy's mother's house, and she asked us to leave too. So Randy took Kathy up to his place where she insisted upon driving. She took the truck, and Randy was going to show her how to get to the road. It was a country road. She had a girlfriend with her who was not intoxicated. She hit the Camaro from behind with the Mazda truck and then went back to St. Louis. So she damaged not only the Mazda but the brand new Camaro, which I have saved all my life to get.
Okay. Did she continue in your employ after September the 30th?
Yeah.
She did?
Yeah.
Until what date?
Probably about November 11th when I came back from Florida, when the guest staying there had complained that she was doing a lot of narcotics.
Don't tell me what the guest
Okay.
said unless you have guests
Okay.
there.
All right.
November 11th of 2000 is when she was terminated.
Right, I had called her on the phone and said there was a lot of complaints against her, so...
So the whole month of October
Yeah, she was
and
there.
for part of November, even
Yes, ma'am.
after this accident, when you
Right.
knew she was drunk and created scenes in two places,
Right.
you continued her in your employ.
Yeah, because I felt sorry for her. She said she had cancer.
Ms. Haas,
Okay, I'm sorry.
you should be.
I wanted to keep her on because she needed a job. She told me she did.
All right, now tell me about the theft of money.
Well, she wrote like a lot of checks. I mean, she never would keep any records, and she wrote like $500 for food, but she never bought any food for the bed and breakfast guests. So then she wrote $500 for her boyfriend, Mark, to remove a tree limb, but it was never removed.
Well, I'm not going back to $500 for food. I will take a look at the paper that you have with regard to the removal of a tree limb.
Okay. Here's the tree limb is still there.
Well, this says payroll and tree service.
Kathy was not even there. I was paying her $10 an hour, but she was never there more than 20 hours a week.
Well, you know, Ms. Haas, who do you think is going to go over all these little receipts? You were paying her $10 an hour. She wasn't there for 40 hours. She only should have been paid for 20 hours.
She was supposed to send me her time record in Florida, but she never did.
Who were Randy and John?
There was friends of mine that I paid to have them drive the car up there, but Kathy seemed to have take a liking to John for some reason. I don't know.
Whatever. She's got a check here that's a memo for Randy and John.
Yeah, that's for Randy, my husband, and a friend of his.
She told me to cash a check and give them $1,000 to Randy and John to drive her vehicle up to Florida.
She did that.
Well, that's one of the things you gave me.
She did that.
What
but
about,
then there was that additional
just a second,
$500
what about $500 in cash for a phone recorder.
She had asked me to purchase a phone recorder so she can record conversations as she's talking to people. And she had a limo that was being stored at some people's house, and when I quit, I didn't even worry about getting her phone recorder. I just went and paid for the limo, gassed it up, and brought it back.
That's not true, ma'am.
Is that when you quit?
Yes.
When did you quit?
She got fired.
I quit on
fired.
November the 11th, 12th, something like that.
Well, this check was written on November 5th. This is before you quit.
The check for $1,000, it was the day
I didn't ask
after.
for $1,000. I'm past $1,000 already.
Yeah, the check was wrote for $1,000. I quit the day after.
She got fired.
Just a
ma'am.
second. Miss Haas?
I'm sorry.
Don't speak out again.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. You quit the day after you wrote out the check for $1,000?
Yes, because I didn't like it.
You wrote out a check on November the 3rd, payroll and tree service, $400.
That was my payroll, and
What
marked it
payroll for whom?
for working for her.
So you kept your own hours.
No, Miss Haas and I had made an agreement that I would work so many hours, but she had me running errands to lawyers and doctors, which made it consume more hours.
This is all a very loose way of doing business. One final check I'm going to ask you about. You have a check to mail packages and x-rays, $500. What's x-rays?
I had to go to all these hospitals that she was in and get all her medical records. I had to Federal Express it overnight to her.
Oh, is that true?
It's $20. They were $20.
Show me a bill.
I don't have a bill for the x-rays.
Well,
but
how am I supposed to have a bill, madam?
Well,
And
maybe she
This was
does.
on October. You're supposed to keep close eye.
I was in Miami Beach, Florida.
I don't care whether you
I know,
were,
but I was
don't care
critically
whether
injured. I
you
was
were
in
in
the-
Panama. Listen to me.
I was in the hospital.
Listen to me. Then you don't give a stranger.
I know
a
that.
stranger who you know has an alcohol abuse problem.
I know that, madam.
You don't give somebody who you hire off the street access to your checking account.
I know that.
Right? Sign them on and have no set salary for them and say they work by the hour.
It was $10
She
an
said,
hour.
well, you expect me to ask her on the 19th of October how many hours did you work?
I don't know. I was in the
Well, I don't know
hospital.
either.
I was in the hospital at the time.
On October 19th?
I was trusting her.
Well, then how do you expect me to deal with that? How do you expect
don't
any
know.
court to deal with that? I don't know either.
I mean, the car.
Let's get to the accident because that's the only thing that may have an objective facts
All right,
that I
well,
can deal
he
with.
was a witness for the accident. Randy, can you come up here? This is my husband. Tell her what happened.
Okay.
Well, we called her from the bed and breakfast to have her bring us over $800 to Redbud. And she was highly intoxicated. And I tried 3 or 4 times, to let her stay at my house. She wouldn't do it. She refused. So I took her out to the end of the road. She ran to the back of the car.
Had you been drinking?
Who, me?
That's exactly who I'm talking to, sir. Had you been drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. What part of the day or night did this happen, sir?
It's probably about 8 at night.
And when had you started to drink that day?
Not at all.
Miss Haas?
So,
Miss Haas?
okay, sorry.
Believe me,
Okay.
I know my business.
All right.
Watching this will be like looking into a Ouija board.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Faye Haas says former employees Kathy Light and Mark Light stole money from her business and wrecked her car. Kathy and Mark deny the charges and say Faye assaulted Kathy with a plastic baseball bat.
What time had you started drinking that day, sir?
Probably 6:37
And where were you drinking, sir?
at a bar.
And what time had you arrived at the bar?
I wouldn't.
What do you mean you wouldn't know? What time had you arrived at the bar that day, sir?
Probably 6:37
From where?
from...
Your mom's home. I don't know. I don't know. He doesn't remember.
Miss Haas, I'm not going to take any information
All right,
from him.
all right.
Forget it. You blew it. You
I'm
understood
sorry.
where I was coming
But
from.
he doesn't know what time it was.
He doesn't know what time it was because he was drunk.
No, he
Sit
wasn't.
down.
No, he wasn't drunk.
Oh, I have to assume that because if he can't remember where he was on a day
he-
when,
but he-
when
but
two
we were
cars
sh-
when two cars collided, I don't believe you.
We were waiting for...
I
people-
don't believe you that
Okay.
he doesn't remember where he was.
All right.
If he doesn't remember where he was on this fateful day, then I have to rely on her statement
He was with
that
me.
he was drunk as a skunk. Now, she may have been. That means you got 2 drunk people driving in your 2 cars, one a Camaro and one a truck. He was drinking and she was drinking, if I believe you. Although I have a little bit of a problem with that because unless there's something wrong with you, you would not allow someone who is as drunk as you claim she was, that required her to be ejected from the bar,
I asked her-
ejected from her mother's house, and yet you would still leave her in charge of your business, giving her total access to your checking account, relying on what she did with money, relying on what she did with guests, to somebody who was clearly a danger, according to you. I have a problem with that, Ms. Haas.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. You're right. It was stupid.
All right, Ms. Lick, tell me what happened with the car.
She had called and they had asked for money, and I had a friend of mine, Jesse, ride over with me. Well, when I got over there, she buys Jesse and I one beer. She takes me across the street to a flower shop, buys me a bouquet of flowers, and then she insists on going and unloading the truck. So we went to Randy's house and we unloaded the car. And as far as the car, there was no accident. I get home and I get this phone call from Miss Haas saying I wrecked her car. Well, them two are both drunk, so I just basically blew it off.
But after this car incident,
I continued to work for her.
you continued to work for her?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Go ahead.
I quit working for Miss Haas because she would call me on the phone and cut me down and say I'm dyslexic and this and that, and my nerves couldn't handle it no more. So I call her on the phone in Florida and tell her I quit. 3 weeks after I quit, she's accusing me of all these things. She's trying to fire me after I quit.
So let me hear about this harassment.
She has been calling, my son and I have pagers. She has been calling our pagers. She calls my son and tells him that I'm a dope dealer and that she's going to have to take him to baseball games because I'm going to be in a federal penitentiary because she's going to see to it that I go to a federal penitentiary. I went and got a restraining order against her.
Let me see.
Not true. Kathy, shame on you. Shame on you.
Ms. Haas, you consented to the entry of a restraining order against you by your counsel. Is that right?
I was in the hospital and I could not go. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
The answer is yes. If you're in the hospital and you can't go, then your attorney asks for postponement.
I don't know what he did, ma'am.
Of course you do.
No, I don't. I really don't, Judge Judy.
He consented to this entry.
Well, he went there supposedly to postpone it.
December 20th of the year 2000. Yeah. He consented to the entry of an order of protection.
Well, I'm sorry about that, but I've never laid a hand on Kathy. She wanted me to adopt her.
And the order of protection specifically says you are not to
I want nothing to do with
abuse, threaten, molest, stalk, disturb, and no telephone calls, and shall not communicate with her in any way whatsoever.
Right.
Now, you came back from Florida on November 11th.
Right.
And according to you, you told me that you were in the hospital in Florida.
I was in the hospital in Florida, in Jackson Memorial Hospital and Mount Sinai.
Well, what'd you go to Florida for?
To get another opinion on my arm that was going to be amputated.
And when were you admitted to the hospital? When you returned in November?
2 days later, a week later, I was admitted to the hospital for
So that would be the 18th of November.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how long were you hospitalized?
2 days.
Were you re-hospitalized at any time after November? Believe me, I will check.
No, no.
So that you were not in the hospital at the time that your attorney entered a consent order. You just said you told him to go there and not do anything, put it over because you were in the hospital.
I could not leave the house. I was not allowed to.
Just a second. So that you were not hospitalized as you originally said.
But I had a nurse at home and I could not leave the house.
All right. It's a month later. Month after your surgery. People recover from open heart surgery faster. After this order of protection was issued, were there any other harassing phone calls?
Yes, I have them on tape here.
Let me hear.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, it's Frank. Guess what? Lisa and Paul are going to testify in court. What kind of guy lives with his brother's wife? Low-life Hoosier.
I said that.
Yeah, Mark, it's Frank. I got the restraining order from the sheriff. We never had any intention of hurting Kathy, but I am going to file criminal charges against you, Mark Light, and Kathy Light for dealing methamphetamine, marijuana, prescription drugs, not only out of my home, but my place of business. We're going to bring up Kathy's past arrest records. So when you show up in court, you better spend about 10 grand to have a very, very good attorney. We are not threatening you. We want nothing to do with people like you, Mark and Kathy Leach. Have a nice evening. Yeah, Mark, it's fine. Have Kathy send me the money for the 2 cars she wrecked when she was drunk on her. I mean, that night said she dealt methamphetamines out of my house. End of messages.
I also have tape here of her calling and leaving messages. I will go ahead and play this for you.
How do you think you and Kathy for dealing marijuana out of your house? The sheriff will be down there. Either pay me back or you go to jail. Yeah, now tell your girlfriend Kathy Leach, also known as a major drug addict, to bring back the gift certificates to her and all the food certificates she sold. What a woman.
Okay.
I said that. I did. I was
That letter?
I was frustrated.
You were frustrated. You were breaking the law.
Okay. What? I'm sorry about that.
Or
I'm sorry
you were
about the
breaking the
attorney.
law?
I'm sorry about the attorney I got to go down there.
Well, that's not my problem.
I know
madam.
that,
That's your
but-
problem. You were clearly aware that you were served with a final order of protection. Final order of protection said absolutely no contact, and specifically no telephone calls.
She had all my records at her house. How was I supposed to get them? Go down to her house? Her neighbor's very dangerous.
I don't quite frankly care what precipitated it. All I care about is there was an order that you were made aware of by service, because you indicate on this that you
But I
had
asked her why she was
No,
doing that
you may
to me.
not ask a question.
I was asking you why she would do that to
You
me.
don't
when I-
ask me any questions. I'm telling you.
All
You
right.
were served with an order. You were on notice. You continued to harass her. And in addition, you violated the order.
And as far as her abusing me, she would hit me with plastic bats and wooden and metal canes.
When did you do that?
When I was working for her.
Why didn't you leave?
Mark had made a joke to her about telling her that she had to stop hitting me and leaving bruises because she would have to pay $50 for each bruise and $100 for blood, and we was just joking about that. But that was to get her to stop hitting on me.
So insane. She's so nuts.
Listen to me.
I'd leave too if somebody did that.
This is certainly not a think tank here. However, if I'm working for somebody and they even think about hitting me, I'm gone.
I know, but...
I know. You don't make
She
a game of
didn't
it.
do
Every
it.
time she hits you, leaves a bruise, you get $50, $100 for drawing blood. I mean, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Your claim against her is dismissed. You have no proof. And I'm not satisfied with hubby's proof that he wasn't responsible for this accident. You have no tangible proof that she stole anything from you. You do have proof, however, that she continued, despite the issuance of this protective order, to continue to call you, which is in violation of the protective order. And on the counterclaim, I am awarding you $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
54-year-old accountant Paula Tigger and her husband Jack are suing 50-year-old senior aide Joel Davidson for travel expenses during a European cruise.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 380 on the calendar in the matter of Tigger versus Davidson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
According to your complaint, your husband, who had suffered a stroke some time ago, needed some assistance, and you hired the defendant because you were planning a European cruise. You hired the defendant who you knew from doing volunteer work at some senior citizen center. And according to you, after about a week on the cruise, he left. There was some disagreement. He left the cruise, and you want him to reimburse you for his tickets, which was some $3,000 for the cruise, right?
Yes.
He has a counterclaim. He says that he was unceremoniously thrown off the ship, and it cost him some $400 to get back, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And when was the cruise scheduled?
July 25th is the day we left. We had a couple days in London before the cruise.
And your agreement with him was what?
To go on the cruise, all expenses paid. What he would have to do is shower and dress my husband and push the wheelchair. As soon as we got there, it's as if he was totally unable to handle his responsibilities.
And you said after the first day something happened. So tell me what happened.
Our first tour, we were getting off the bus. I asked Joe, bring the wheelchair so my husband could sit down, and so quickly he jammed the chair against my husband's legs, almost knocking him down. I talked with my hands, and I just said, "Are you crazy?" And I just flung my hand back, and I went to reach for my husband.
Did he wheel him on that tour the first day?
As part of the time.
And then you went back to the cruise ship?
Well, even before we got back there, he told me he did not want to take care of Jack anymore.
What did he say?
He said, "I don't want to do this anymore." I said, excuse me. He says, I don't want to take care of Jack anymore.
Did he say why?
No, no explanation at all.
So then you got back to the cruise ship, and what did you do?
Well, we got back to the ship. I couldn't do anything that day. That evening, I heard him defaming me to some passengers, telling them that I assaulted him. And I spoke with him and asked him not to do that, that it's not appropriate, and it's none of anyone's business what happened between us. He said he wouldn't talk about it anymore, and he indicated to me that if he could find a way off the ship, he would do it. I told him go see the purser. 2 days later, when we were in port, I went to the purser. Well, my stepson was sharing a cabin with Joe, and he was very disgusted that he would have to look at him after what Joe did to his father.
Well, why don't you step up, please? You're Richard?
Yes, ma'am.
You were sharing a cabin.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have any conversation with the defendant?
Very little. I was upset about the whole situation, so I avoided him.
Did he, in fact, after the incident, the first day on ship, have any contact with your father?
He actually got into a tuxedo that he had borrowed and participated in the formal dinner that night and came over and attempted to talk to Paula, at which time she asked him to, you know, just not talk to us.
Did he come and shower your father?
No, Your Honor.
Did he wheel him around at all?
No, ma'am. I took over and did all that.
Did you have any discussion with the defendant about leaving the ship?
Just the time that he told Paul if there was any way he could leave the ship that he would. So we went to the purser and tried to find out if that was possible.
And who communicated with the defendant that, in fact, arrangements had been made for him to be dropped off?
Paula and myself looked around the ship and found him in the library and explained the situation.
Who explained the situation?
I did.
What did you say to him?
I told him I arranged for him to leave the ship, and he had only had a few minutes to pack.
Where were you?
Ireland, Cove, Ireland.
Okay.
And we assisted him to his cabin, watched him
So
pack.
you said to him you had arranged for him to leave the ship?
Yes.
What did he say to you?
He said, what? He didn't really say anything. I gave him his ticket from London to the United States, and I told him when you get to the airline, tell them you need to change your date, that you're flying back.
Okay. Now, Mr. Davidson, let's hear your version of the events.
Mrs. Tigger asked me to go on the cruise with her. The first agreement did not mention showering and dressing him. She said, I want you to wheel him around, and I want you to take him out on the deck after lunch and read to him. But the main reason I'm taking you on this cruise is that I am sick of having to get up during dinner to take him to the restroom.
At some point, you changed that agreement with her with regard to showering and dressing?
She said I had to shower and dress him and undress him.
When did she tell you that?
2 weeks before we left.
So that you knew that before you left?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
But before we left, she called me up on the phone and she said, I'm giving you a check for $2,500. I want you to cash it and give me the cash back. She was acting like she was paying me $2,500 to go on the cruise and then give her the money back.
Let's get to the cruise, Mr. Davidson.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We got to Le Havre. I put together his wheelchair. He sat down in it. I was wheeling his wheelchair. She came back and she assaulted me, saying that I had hit his foot.
How did she assault you?
She punched me with her hand.
Show me how she punched you. With a punch?
With a punch.
Yes.
On my right shoulder.
Yes.
She said, get away from us. We don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Just leave. I went back to the ship. I tried to file an assault report. They refused to take it. I went to the purser. The purser said, are you leaving the ship? I said, I don't have tickets home to leave the ship. I can't leave the ship. She waited until we got to Ireland. They said, you're off the ship. They took me to my room. They made me pack my bags. They handed me this. And they said, you have to do this, and you have to take that flight. And you have $200 in traveler's checks to pay for the flight. I got to London, and the tickets weren't good for another 9 days.
Go ahead.
I explained to the airline what happened. They saved my life, Your Honor. They gave me a standby ticket. It took me 31 hours to get home.
Mr. Davidson, why would you think that she would unceremoniously throw you off the ship unless she had a problem with the way you were taking care of her husband?
Because she was angry with me because I wouldn't cash her check, and she didn't want me to go on the trip.
Well, that sounds sort of strange, Mr. Davidson, because you said that this was prior to you leaving by several weeks. At that point, it would have been very easy to cash in your ticket and say, forget it, I don't want you to go with me.
I feel I would still be standing here that she would have sued me for not going on the trip.
No. Now, that doesn't make sense, Mr. Davidson. What I just don't understand is something was sufficiently egregious about the way you were handling her husband so that she said, I don't want you to have anything to do with him anymore. Because I believe that you did say that, Miss Tigger. I believe that you said to him, get away, I don't want you to take care of him anymore.
That was the next night.
Whatever. It was the next night. You said, I don't want you to have anything to do with him anymore. So that you don't get the money back from his crew. You don't get the money back. As it happens, he didn't even finish the trip. My question with regard to you is, do you have any sort of counterclaim? Because you said it cost you about $400 to fly from Ireland to London and then your taxi and everything else, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Had you ever been to Europe before, Mr. Davidson?
I've been to London once.
How long ago?
25 years.
And did you spend 2 days in London?
Yes.
So at least those couple of days were pleasant.
Yes, ma'am.
The reason that I asked you questions before with regard to your treatment of Mr. Tigger was because I can't figure out why she would have fired you. Because I believe she told you that she didn't want you to take care of her husband anymore. And I do believe that you also said to her, I'm not doing this anymore.
No, ma'am, I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Never?
No.
Did you appear at their door each morning to shower Mr. Tigger?
No.
That was part of your job?
Yes.
And you didn't do it?
No.
You didn't make an attempt to do it?
I went up to them on Sunday night and I apologized to Mr. Tigger.
What did you apologize for, Mr. Davidson?
I said, if I inadvertently hit your foot, which I did not do, I apologize. I would never do that.
But you did not report to their stateroom each morning.
They called up on the phone and said, send Richard.
Did you ever ask Mrs. Tigger for him to come down and shower your husband?
No.
Miss Tigger, you are not entitled to recoup from Mr. Davidson the money for the ticket.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson had cards made up. Personal travel companion will travel worldwide. And on my dollar, he took these cards and was giving them out to passengers.
So what? So what does that have to do
He
with
would take a disabled person, leave them in their room, and go and enjoy himself on a cruise.
No, Miss Tigger. Please, please. That's really not what happened. And I don't blame you at all for deciding that Mr. Davidson was not giving your husband the kind of compassionate care that you thought he should have. But that doesn't mean you can recoup the ticket unless he left voluntarily.
He did leave voluntarily.
No, he did not leave voluntarily. He did not. You had him ejected from the ship. You just told me that you found him in the library. You had made arrangements for him. He did not even respond to you when you said to him, you're leaving now and you have to pack quickly because you only have a few minutes. You took him to his cab. I said, what had he respond? He said he went, he didn't know what to say. Now, if you had let him remain on the cruise ship for the entire course of your 10-day cruise, and if he did not, in fact, perform his duties, but he took full advantage of this vacation, then you might have had a cause of action. But you arranged for him to leave.
2.5 days after the incident, when he goes around like he's Mr. Hotshot, enjoying the cruise, yes, to tell you the truth, it totally disgusted me.
So that you made arrangements.
And defaming me to passengers and giving out his business card, which I had never seen before.
Doesn't make any difference. Giving out his business card and telling passengers that you assaulted him is not, you may consider it a reason. And it may be a reason because you say, look, he's talking badly of me, he's giving out his business card, and I'm footing the bill. So I'm getting him off this ship. That's what happened. So you did. You have to pay for it. You lose. The only thing that I have to consider is your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I do, in fact, believe, Mr. Davidson, that at some point you said, I don't want to do this anymore. You may have said it to her after she either pushed you on the arm or slapped you on the arm. You're not accustomed to that. I believe she probably did it out of anger because she saw that her husband either might have been hurt, his foot might have been hurt. But I don't believe that you have a cause of action. You had an option. When she came to you and said to you, you are leaving in Ireland, you could have said to her, I'm not going anywhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And just continue to enjoy the sea breeze.
Yes, ma'am.
And I will stay as far away from them as possible.
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't do that. That was your choice. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He had every intention of having an incident, hurting my husband, and then quitting so he could get a free cruise.
Paula is a control freak, and if you don't do what she says, the second she says it, she flips out.
And now the next case.
All parties on Turner versus Peak. Step forward.
33-year-old flight engineer Christopher Turner is suing his ex-girlfriend, 26-year-old child care provider Anna Peak, for the return of a computer monitor and a web camera. Anna says they were gifts.
You used to be the defendant's boyfriend. You broke up some time ago. You say that she has some property that belongs to you. She says everything that she has that you claim belonged to you were gifts. That's what this case is about.
That's correct.
Let's talk about the phone. What kind of phone are we talking about?
It was a Sony 900 megahertz phone. It was a little black phone. I used to call her on the phone, and when she used to go out and feed her ducks and chickens, her old phone she had just was constant static. So I got tired of hearing it after a while, so I just said, hey, I got an extra phone you can borrow. And I brought it over one day, and she used it from then on. I never actually said you can have it as a gift or anything like that.
What else?
A net cam.
A net cam. What's a net cam?
A net cam is something you hook up your computer, and you can get on Microsoft Net Meeting, and you can talk two ways, and it shows a video on it also.
Net cam. So tell me the circumstances surrounding you giving her the net cam.
I'm in the military, so when I go TDY, basically temporary duty, I go and fly to Japan, Hawaii, Alaska, and stuff like that for my job. So I always bring my laptop with me. So I got an extra net cam. I saw her online, so I asked her to bring up the program for...
Just a minute. You got an extra net cam. Do you have a net cam?
Yes, I do.
And what did you do with yours?
The first one I have, I let her borrow, and I just showed her how it
And she was
worked.
your girlfriend?
Yes, she was.
So you are telling me that you said, I am giving you this net cam that you can borrow, but if we break up, you have to give it back because I'm just loaning it to you.
I never actually said it because I don't ever actually think we're going to break up or nothing like that.
Of course, that's
I'm an
Mr. Turner.
optimistic
That's
person.
exactly what I'm saying, sir. You got it. That's exactly what I'm saying, because I don't think it's kind of romantic. You're off doing this TDY or whatever. You want to be as close as possible to your girlfriend, so you want to be able to communicate with her. So you go out and buy a new one. Not very romantic. You give her the old one, you keep the new one, but, you know, maybe you really weren't so sure about the relationship. What's next, Mr. Turner?
Basically a monitor also that I let her borrow.
A monitor. When did you give her the monitor?
Around December 18th.
December 18th. Under what circumstances did you give her the monitor? I assume this was for a computer.
Yeah, I built her a computer also. I built computers as a hobby. Well, she had a little 14-inch monitor, and I went to a computer show, and I needed an extra monitor also, so I got a good deal on one.
So you bought yourself a new one?
Yes, I did.
And you gave her your old one?
I took the new one out, put on my computer desk is like a two-tiered desk. So I already got one 17-inch monitor. When I put the second one on there, the second tier couldn't handle sort of bows in the middle. So I just put my 14-inch monitor on there and let her borrow the other one.
You walk into her house and you've got this new monitor, and you're in love.
Well, I don't know if it's... okay.
And it's a few days before Christmas. So you say to her, I have something here that you can borrow?
No, what I did, I had the computer wrapped up. I actually wrapped up a monitor too, because I had a necklace in there also.
Just a second. You wrapped up the monitor?
It's how, well,
Just a second. You wrapped up the monitor?
Yes.
In what kind of paper did you wrap the monitor?
It was Christmas wrapping paper.
And within that same package, you were also going to give her a necklace.
Yes.
Was it wrapped in the same Christmas paper?
It was actually in a computer box.
So you brought over three presents.
That's correct.
Wrapped in Christmas paper.
The monitor wasn't a present. I was just gonna, when I gave it to her, I said, hey, here's a computer. It wasn't a computer. When she opened up, she saw it was a computer. I said, what's in the big box is actually a smaller box. The other one I'm just gonna let you borrow.
You said that to her?
That's correct.
Mr. Turner.
No, he didn't.
You would have been out the door. What did she give you for Christmas?
A couple shirts, some pants, and something else. I'm not sure what it is.
cologne, Obsession.
Oh, cologne.
Yeah, cologne also.
And it's a little gift bag with little playful stuff.
As far as you're concerned, all of these things were gifts.
Correct. Well,
You don't have to say any more. Correct.
yes.
It's easy. Mr. Turner, get over it. They were all gifts. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
79-year-old property manager Virgil David is suing next-door neighbor, 30-year-old secretary Dawn Lamoureux, for damage to his property.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 422 on the calendar in the matter of David versus Lamoureux. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Mr. David, you manage some residential property. According to what I gather in this complaint, the defendant lives in adjacent property, but property that you do not manage. Is that correct? And according to you, there have been numerous complaints about the animals that they keep.
Correct.
What kind of animals do they keep?
They have a Doberman, a pit bull, and a Rottweiler.
What other animals do they have?
They used to have chickens and rooster.
And what kind, is this a residential area?
Yes, it is.
So it's not a farm?
No, no.
Shh, shh. I gather that they got rid of the chickens and the rooster,
Yes, they did.
but still keep the 3 dogs, which according to you have been barking at all hours of the day and night, and there have been complaints from your tenants.
You're correct.
At some point you claimed the defendant went into a tirade because somebody had called either the police or animal control, came over to your premises and damaged some property of yours that you manage.
Correct.
What kind of property?
The front screen door has been damaged beyond repair, and there's water inside the bedroom windows where she squirted water in the window. It took a tenant all day long to clean it up, dry the mattress and everything else.
Were you a witness to that?
No, it wasn't, no.
Who was?
The tenant, Mr. Wilmorian.
Step up, sir. Now, can you tell me about this incident on the 17th of July?
Yes, could I tell you what led up to it?
Yes.
When I moved in February of last year, it became an immediate problem that there was dogs that were vicious all the time. And I decided, well, I'm not going to go over and complain as soon as I moved in. It's not the way I want to introduce myself to my neighbors.
Did they live right next door?
Correct, which is also a house. It's not an apartment. So I gave it about a week or so. As I say, I didn't want to introduce myself as some irate neighbor. When I saw that it was continuing, I went to speak with Mr. Bill.
What was happening? What was continuing, sir?
Well, the dogs will, they attack the fence when anybody goes in the back. There's a the Rottweiler and the Doberman are penned up in the back, and they keep as it turns out, was an unlicensed and did not have shots, a pit bull that's chained in the driveway, which the defendant himself told me that they cannot put together because they will fight. So if they're not barking at whatever goes through the backyard, if it's a cat, if it's a squirrel, if it's any one of us, they attack the fence like junkyard dogs. And sometimes this begins at 6:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. And when I found out, as I talked to Mr. Villalonga, he tells me that there's nothing he can do about it when he goes out of town on the weekends, which turns out to be, throughout the summer, was at least 2 to 3 weekends every month. And when that happens, one might know that dogs are even more defensive when nobody's home, and then it's all day and it's all night. And so I tried to talk to the gentleman a few times.
This gentleman?
Yes, I did. And he said he would try to do something about it, which he never did. And I tried to talk to him a couple more times, maybe half a dozen times. Basically, nothing was done. So I told him I didn't want to go through animal regulation. I said, I want to be a good neighbor. Let's just work it out. And
Step up, sir.
And he totally ignored my requests. So finally, I had to go through animal regulation. And it's been going on since, as I say, March. And every step that we've gone through, every directive that they've given these people to do something about the dogs has been completely ignored. Nothing has been done, and I can show you the documentation.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
The City of Los Angeles found, after a hearing, by preponderance of the evidence, that your dogs were emitting excessive noise. You received that notification?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you the following questions, sir. First, You shall permanently remove the Staffordshire Terrier named Gidget from your property within 30 days of this notification. Has that dog been removed?
No.
You shall refrain from allowing any of your dogs to be outdoors on your property at any time from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m. Have your dogs been outside of your property between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m.?
Not every night.
At all?
Some nights I appeal.
Okay. You shall ensure that your dogs are wearing an activated anti-barking collar at any time they are outdoors. Do they each wear an anti-barking collar?
Nope. I appealed the case. That's an appeal right now. The case
Yes.
is.
So?
So I'm waiting. The gentleman told me that I don't have to do anything.
Show me. Don't tell me what anybody told you,
It's
sir.
right here.
Show me proof that you do not have to comply with any of these regulations until your appeal is finalized. Do you have proof of that?
I have it right here on top.
Good. Can I see it, please?
Number 6 at the very bottom.
Could you ask her to point out where she says that she does not have to comply with the conditions of the order until the appeal is finalized?
On number 6, it says you must submit a signed statement affirming that you are willing and able to comply with the above listed terms. We signed and submitted the statement back to the hearing examiner at the City of Los Angeles, and his name is Hakeem.
Where does it say you don't have to comply until the appeal is finalized?
He told me that
I don't
verbally
care what he
on the
told. I don't
phone,
believe
the
he
hearing
told you that,
examiner.
madam.
Well, he did.
Nowhere does it say that in that piece of paper, that you don't have to comply.
I checked
with,
twice.
Show me in writing. Give me that.
I have the phone
Give me
number
that.
of the hearing examiner.
I don't care about a phone number.
Hakeem.
There. Did you understand what I just said? I don't care about a phone number. This does not say you do not have to comply. As a matter of fact, in the findings of fact that you just gave me, it says, you, sir, told the hearing examiner that he's the owner of the 3 dogs. He said he plans to give away the unlicensed pit bull in the near future, that he concedes his dogs sometimes bark in response to inappropriate stimuli, but he denied that they bark as often as claimed by the witnesses at the hearing. So, did you give away the pit bull?
No, ma'am. They cornered me. There was 5 of them. They cornered me, kicked her out of the courtroom.
Why did you tell the hearing examiner that you were going to give away the pit bull?
Because it was 3 hours into the court date.
You got a lot of excuses.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Property manager Virgil David says next-door neighbors Dawn Lamoureux and Ed Villalonga have refused to do anything about their barking dogs. Virgil is suing Dawn for vandalizing his property.
All right, now, tell me, sir, what happened on the 17th of July?
I woke up to her vandalizing my house. Animal regulation suggested that I should videotape some of this stuff so it can use that as evidence. So I had a camera in my bedroom window. It was about 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I heard the dogs going nuts, so I got up, I turned it on. As I turned it on, I observed this woman screaming. She came over to my house, proceeded to throw grapefruits at my bedroom window, turned on the hose in my backyard, started spraying that through my bedroom window, screaming obscenities, running around my house, goes to my front door, pounding and kicking, screaming at me to come on out, which of course I'm not, and I videoed that from the inside. She goes to my side door, screaming and pounding on the side door, come out, you effer, and all this stuff. And it opens up my mail slot, starts screaming through it like a lunatic.
Let me see it.
Tape.
Is that when the screen door was broken?
Yes. And there's some footage of what's led up of the dogs and all that. And if I could submit this to you too, it has a description of the scenes on the tape.
I don't need a description. I can follow.
And we also have photos of the door.
Of the screen door.
Hey, Ed. I need to talk to you. Why's that?
I said I don't have time for you.
We gotta talk about your dogs. This is when I go to my car.
I don't care about my dogs. If you don't get those cats taken care of, we're gonna have a real problem.
Is that it?
Yes.
Could I see the damage to the screen, please? You have an estimate for the screen?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
The defendant says in her answer that she purchased another door. Is that correct?
Yes.
I purchased the door myself.
You purchased the door?
Yes, I did.
Where did you get the door?
At the hardware store. Wrapped in plastic, brand new, same size, everything. Here's the receipt
Could be
on
the
the day.
same size. I don't know if it's the same door. Did you consult with the plaintiff with regard
He
to
doesn't
what
want to
kind
talk to me.
So you didn't consult with the
The
plaintiff?
city attorney gave us terms to abide by,
He threw the screen door over the fence into the front yard and left it there for us to replace it. That's the way he talks to me.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. People are trying to quietly enjoy their home, a home that they pay for, and because of your selfish, self-centered position with regard to your animals who were clearly out of control, you've denied this gentleman, who is not a plaintiff, the right to peaceful occupancy of his home. Madam, stop shaking your head. You look like an idiot. You look like an idiot. Dogs are supposed to be pleasant things to have around. They're supposed to be companions. Occasionally, if you need a dog as a watchdog, then you use a dog as a watchdog. You've chosen to use your dogs for some other purpose.
I don't
So I don't give
I
a
don't
rat's
believe
behind whether he won't talk to you or not. I have a letter here from your landlord. Don't try to talk over me, sir. You will lose. Guaranteed. I have a letter from your landlord. From your landlord. Your landlord begs you, please take care of the problem. You're a selfish, self-centered baby, because only selfish, self-centered babies would permit a circumstance to exist for a year where someone else who has tried to do things nicely has not been able to enjoy their home. Sit down. Sit. Your lawsuit, sir, seeks $154.67.
Yes, ma'am.
I wish it could be more. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Your Honor,
Yes.
may I say something, please?
Yes.
I offered to put up any door that was equal to the one they took off, free, do it myself. I never heard from these people for months. So therefore, I said, that's it. I changed my mind. Let them do it.
Sir, listen to me. Some people just are a couple of short of a six-pack. Unfortunately, you got them living next door to you. I don't know what you can do. The only thing that I can suggest is that you sit down with their landlord and indicate to him that you would join him in sharing the cost or anything else and having these people evicted because they seem to not be able to abide by the law. Do you understand?
Thank you.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, at least we'll get the door fixed, hopefully. But I don't expect them to do anything about the dogs. Like I say, they've gotten all sorts of things from the animal regulation to take care of it over a course of a year. You know, 4, 5, 6 different types of meetings we've had to go through, and they've ignored every single one of them. Ignored them, not tried to do anything, just ignored them.
And now the next case.
All parties on Rose versus Welch. Step forward, please.
42-year-old cosmetologist Janet Rose is suing her ex-mother-in-law, 61-year-old retired secretary Gloria Welch. Janet says Gloria gave away her dog at a car wash.
Miss Rose, the defendant is your former mother-in-law.
Yes,
Is this your daughter?
that's my daughter.
According to your complaint, you were going on vacation. Your daughter was going to watch your dog. You left to go to Florida. For some reason, your daughter didn't keep your dog, gave the dog to your former mother-in-law, who promptly gave the dog away. You want to be reimbursed substantially for the dog. This was a little Lhasa Apso?
Yes.
Step up. When did you have a conversation with your daughter?
On the 18th of September. And I told her I was leaving the next day. She said, no problem, just bring Lindsay over here and I'll watch her while you're gone.
Is that right?
Yes, but the arrangement, Your Honor, was that she was supposed to send for the dog. And when I did eventually call her and ask her to send for the dog, well, first,
she wasn't going.
I tried calling her.
I don't want. Sorry, I'm not speaking to you.
And the first 3 times I tried calling her, I just got the machine. And
Okay. On what date did you give the dog to your grandmother?
It was probably like the 25th or the 26th.
So we're talking about 6 days that you had the dog. Not a very long attention span. 6 days.
My apartment wouldn't allow me to have dogs in it in the first place, Your Honor, and that's why I only kept her for such a short amount of time. And on top of that, the dog did have a very foul odor to it, and she was stinking up the furniture, the carpet, everything. And I tried bathing her, but the smell wouldn't go away.
You didn't watch the dog very long for your mother.
I had to work every day.
You knew all of that, and even if your mother had said to you, I'm going to be sending for the dog, we're not talking about her abandoning this dog for months. We're talking about 6 days. Now, why did you give the dog to your grandmother?
Well, it was starting to cause a lot of problems in my relationship, and...
You mean the relationship that you had with your boyfriend?
Yes.
So it was the boyfriend who said, get rid of the dog?
Yeah, he said that if I didn't get rid of the dog by that night, that he was going to take it to the pound. So every single day was a new struggle with this.
Okay. Did your daughter tell you that she was having trouble with the dog?
She said that her boyfriend didn't want to walk the dog while she was at work for 6 hours.
So who did you give the dog to?
What happened, when I realized what a stench the dog had and that it was going all over the house and stuff, I decided, I don't know what to do. I didn't want to give it to one of my friends. So I was at the car wash. There was a woman that was there. She said, what a nice dog. I said, you want it? She said, yes. Goodbye. For me, that was the end of it. This woman wanted a dog, and that was it. This is the 4th animal that I have found a home for this woman's dog, one of her animals. This was the 4th one. She's very irresponsible. Every once in a while, she has a moment of clarity and then decides that, that this is a thing to do here.
I don't think that you meant any harm when you said you wanted to protect your granddaughter who was having trouble with boyfriend. By the way, you have a boyfriend who won't walk the dog once in 6 hours. It's somebody that I would reconsider.
I have, Your Honor.
Have you?
Yes.
Smart girl. Okay, Miss Rose, I'm just trying to get this clear, whether there was anything maniacal about what Miss Welch did, and I don't think that there was. Your contract was not with Miss Welch. Your agreement was with your daughter.
Yes.
Your agreement was with your daughter that she would take care of the dog.
Right.
You are not suing your daughter. You're suing her grandmother. Her grandmother had no obligation to preserve this dog for you because she had no agreement with you.
But she's the only one who has any information where the dog was even taken to, who she gave it to.
Let me tell you something. I think that she would tell you that if she knew.
In a minute.
Every time I would call her when I got home, she would screen her calls. She never answered my phone. Then when I talked to her...
I believe that she would, if she could, tell you who has your dog. My sense is that she gave it to the first person who said, nice dog. It's not worth losing your daughter.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
And it's not your mother-in-law's fault, so your case is dismissed. Get over it. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
He's on Cooper versus Campbell. Step forward, please.
Babysitter Carrie Cooper is suing Catherine Bennett Campbell for unpaid fees. But Catherine says Carrie neglected and humiliated her son by leaving him sitting in his soiled clothes for 2 hours.
Order. All rise. All rise, please.
Judge, please. Judge number 36 on the calendar in the matter of Cooper versus Campbell. All parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Well, this case presents a serious problem that a lot of working people have, especially working moms, who have to find appropriate daycare for their children. According to this complaint, Ms. Campbell, you hired the plaintiff to take care of your children while you were working.
That's correct.
How long did she care for your children?
I believe a little over 2 years. I'm not exactly sure.
And how many children did she care for?
She cared for 2 of my children. I have only 2 children.
How old are they? Your son, who's 5.
My son is 5, and my daughter, who's here today as a witness, she is 7.
And there came a time when you became dissatisfied with her service. According to your answer, terminated the service. But according to your complaint, she did not pay you for the last month. Is that correct?
Correct.
Which was $450.
Correct.
So, let me hear what happened.
I provided a service to Mrs. Campbell for the month of April.
There had been problems previously for months with her son having uncontrollable bowel movements, and I had suggested several times on occasion for her to have him evaluated, and she disregarded that.
Oh, that's not true.
Just a second.
And you know it.
According to these papers, Ms. Cooper, you were aware of the fact that her son had some serious problems.
Right.
What kind of problems does he have?
My son is learning disabled. We believe he has ADHD, and also he's been diagnosed with stress-related seizure disorder.
And according to your papers, he did have a couple of grand mal seizures.
He's had 2 grand mal seizures. The first occurred the first day of preschool. The second occurred in Carrie Cooper's residence.
And the ADHD is attention deficit
hyperactivity
attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Correct.
And you were aware of that he had
yes.
these problems. So he soiled himself while in your care.
Right.
Twice.
Twice? No, this has been going on. It was
No,
like...
it was the 3rd time. It was the 3rd time.
It was more than 3 occasions.
No, it wasn't.
Don't interrupt. So what happened on the day that precipitated this
was
lawsuit?
At 3 p.m., April 30th. I proceeded to call Kathy at her place of employment.
At 3 o'clock, the little boy soiled himself.
Right.
And you called her at her job.
Yes.
What
and
time
asked-
does she usually come to pick up the children?
5 o'clock.
Okay.
So I proceeded to ask her if she can make arrangements for somebody to come pick him up.
No, you didn't.
Listen, I'm going to get to you in a second.
I called her, notified her of the problem, asked if somebody could come pick him up. I didn't have another diaper to change him or a change of clothes. She said he would have to stay like that.
You're not helping yourself.
Okay.
Okay?
He would have to stay like that until she got there. At which time, I put him in the hallway because I have tile there. I have carpet everywhere else. I put him in the hallway to wait for his mother.
How did you put him in the hallway?
I just had him sit on the floor in the hallway.
Well, describe this place to me.
Okay, my front door, then the hallway, then you go into my living room. The hallway is all tile. And I had him sit there instead of the carpet so my carpet wouldn't get soiled.
Do you have any children?
Yes, I do. I have 1 child.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
How old?
5.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Why didn't you take off those soiled clothes from the little boy? And at least for the 2 hours that he was waiting, why didn't you put on a pair of your daughter's overalls, something?
I just did when I called her and asked her to come get him, I did what she told me to do.
No, Miss Cooper, I'm talking about humanity. I'm not talking about what she told you to do. She called her at work and you said somebody has to come and get him. Well, this is, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not easy on a moment's notice to get somebody to come over and pick up the boy. These were children that you had watched for 2 years. You have a child of similar age, who I'm sure has a pair of sweatpants, because girls always have sweatpants, just like boys do. Take off the diaper or the pull-ups that he was wearing. I don't know, burn them, do whatever you want to do with them. And in the meantime, until she gets there, put something of your daughter's on. Why couldn't you do that? Instead of putting him out in the hallway.
Since I started watching the kids, he was potty trained. I had never agreed on changing diapers. She knew of the problem. She knew that I wasn't going to do that. That's why every time it happened, I called her at work, and either her husband or herself would come pick him up.
What do you mean you never agreed? Children have accidents.
I understand that.
And you mean if a child has an accident, you don't take care of that?
Yes, I do.
Well, then so what was the problem here? If you wanted to terminate this and say, listen, after today, I'm not taking care of him anymore, I could understand that. My problem, Ms. Cooper, is it's very traumatic for a child. I know I've had children, and it's very traumatic for a child to be left that way, humiliated in a hallway alone. A 5-year-old understands, has the cognitive ability to understand what you're doing. It seems to me there's a certain lack of humanity in not taking care of the problem and then saying, at the end of the day, Miss Campbell, I can't, I won't, I don't want to take care of your children anymore because this is a problem that I don't want to have to deal with.
I had told her that 2 weeks prior to that.
But still, you continue to take care of the children, right?
Right.
But you can say, I'm not going to do it anymore without taking it out on the child. The child is the one who's traumatized. She may feel very badly about her son, but it's the child himself who's left with that feeling, that terrible moment of being in a hallway because he soiled himself, especially when he has the kinds of problems that this little boy has. Who's wrong? All right, Miss Campbell, I see you're real upset.
I want to tell you, first of all, she handed me his clothes in a clean bag. The difference between the other two incidents and this, he was wearing a pull-up. All she had to do was take off the pull-up and clean him up, put his clean clothes back on him. She's lying. Those clothes were in a bag. My daughter's here. She knows the story. When I walked up, he was standing by the front door. The neighborhood children had gathered, and they were laughing at my son. I will never in my life forget the look on his face.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My son is going into therapy June 19th for what she did to him, okay? It wasn't a safe environment at all.
And later today.
You owe me my money. Or you gotta pay me.
Well, I'm not gonna pay you because you still owe me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Bennett Campbell says her babysitter, Carrie Cooper, neglected her 5-year-old son, and so she refuses to pay the fee.
He was standing in the hallway like she said, but you could see him. I could see him in the corner with his head down. When he came out to me, his pull-up had been on him for 2 hours. It was sagging. He had only a T-shirt on. She had just bagged up his clean clothes because she simply did not want to deal with the situation.
Those weren't clean clothes.
They were clean clothes.
Sir?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I had to say something.
Well, then you step up here. You want to come up here and say something? I'll hear you.
They were not. They were soiled clothes from days
Stop.
before.
Miss Campbell, Miss Campbell, why don't you say anything?
She doesn't bring diapers. She had bring clothes before, but they had been soiled in prior. That's why they were in a plastic bag.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Tom.
Tom what?
DeLeo.
Mr. DeLeo. You were home when this happened?
Yes.
You have children, sir?
Yeah, her daughter's my daughter.
You know how protective people are of their children?
Yes, I do.
Miss Campbell is protective of her child. You are particularly protective of a child who has a disability.
We were protective of her kids, too.
No, Mr. DeLeo. You're not protective of a child, sir, if you don't take care of that child.
Well, it's
in
not
the same way that you would take care of your own child, and you would not leave your daughter in that situation. And if you would not leave your daughter in that situation, you don't leave a child entrusted to your care in that situation.
I want to say, when she made that phone call to me, if I had known that my son was going to go through this, you better believe I would have picked him up. I never intended for this to happen to him.
Had you always paid her on time?
Yes. Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you paid her at the end of the month?
Yes.
For the preceding month?
Correct.
Now, you know that she took care of, by the way, did you report this incident?
Yes, I have. I filed a police report, which I have a copy. Tom DeLeo is also involved. I want to explain to you this. When my children got into the car, both of them at the same time told me, Mommy, Mommy, Tom hit Josh in the head. Tom hit Josh in the head. Then Josh told me, no, you know what? Jenna's going to tell you. Then Josh told me his feet hurt, and that's when I asked him, were you in the corner all this time? And Josh said yes. I have filed reports with community care licensing. I have filed a police report. I have filed a police report. Child abuse registry is currently investigating that. Anaheim Police is awaiting their report.
Okay, well, that's a good idea. What's your name?
Jenna. Jenna.
Jenna? Is your name Jenna? I have a little granddaughter whose name is Jenna. She's 2.5. Jenna, would you like to come up here and talk to me for a minute?
Watch your step. See you, Jenna.
Hi.
Hi.
Jenna, do you remember that day when your brother had a problem? Yes? Well, would you tell me what happened? You look at me and tell me.
Well, I came to my babysitter's house. She picked me up from the bus stop, and then we had to do my homework, me and my friend, and then we ate our snack, and then we played the monkey game, and then it was time for Joshua to get up, and then he
had been sleeping?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he did an accident.
While in his pants while he was sleeping? Okay, so what happened then?
And then Carrie put him in the corner for 2 hours, and then he told me that...
Who's
that
Carrie?
She.
She. That's Carrie. She put him in the corner?
And then he told me that Tom hit him in the head because he hit Ashley on accident.
Oh, so that Tom hitting him on the head had to do with an argument that their little girl was having with your brother. So he said he hit him on the head because he hit Ashley. Joshua hit Ashley. I see. It didn't have anything to do with him soiling his pants that he got hit in the head, right? Is that right? Good. Anything else you want to tell me? Has it always been okay at this babysitter's for you? Up until this happened? She's a pretty nice babysitter? Yeah. She takes care of you okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You never had any complaints before, did you? No? You have a new babysitter now? You like the new babysitter? Want to go back to your seat? Okay. Okay, so at least we found out about this hitting on the head. It didn't really have anything to do with
No, but
this
how appropriate is it to hit a child with stress-related
Kathy,
seizure
I
disorder
never
in the
hit
head?
Josh in the head.
Listen.
No way.
Listen.
That's what my children told me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have nightmares over what my Joshua went through for 2.5 hours. You're pathetic and you make me sick.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Bennett Campbell says her babysitter, Carrie Cooper, neglected her 5-year-old son, and so she refuses to pay the fee.
This was an unfortunate incident.
Extremely.
I absolutely agree with you. But it appears from what your daughter has said, and even what you have said to me previously, that this was a babysitter that you had used for 2 years and who had taken good care of your kids. I don't think you would have left your children with her if she didn't. I find, Miss Cooper, that your behavior on that day was really inexcusable. The issue is, does that mean that you don't have to pay her for the whole month? And you do, because that was your arrangement. You have to pay her for the month that she watched your children. I certainly think that you did the appropriate thing by issuing the reports that you did, because I think that her actions were callous in what she did with your boy. She exercised very poor judgment. I'm telling you that you exercised very poor judgment. But this is a court of law. You had a contract. Your contract provided that you were supposed to be paid $450 for watching these children. You would watch them for an entire month prior to this incident. So the judgment in this case is simple. It's for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope you're proud of what you did to my son.
Step out the back door to your right, please.
I think you're pathetic, and I think you should not be watching children, and I think you better take some parenting classes, and you need to find some compassion.
Parenting classes.
Oh, honey, I'm in parenting classes to deal with the problems my son has because
Your son
of you.
had problems before
That's correct,
me.
and you knew about it. You knew.
Parties on Richardson versus Amos. Step forward, please.
29-year-old dancer Denise Richardson says she loaned her brother-in-law, Lavasta Amos, $95 to rent a truck, and he never paid her back.
All right, Miss Richardson, you say that Mr. Amos owes you $95. You want to tell me how that came about, please?
I don't know about it in March. My niece called her father asking me to help.
Your niece?
My niece.
That's his daughter?
My sister's daughter, yes.
Okay. This is the father?
Yes.
Your niece called you and said...
Asked me if I could rent a rider truck for them to move. So it was
for
just...
whom?
For her father and her.
Okay.
And it was just for me to put it on my credit card, for them to just have a deposit, you know, to hold a truck, and then they were supposed to make the payment.
They were supposed to pay in cash?
They were supposed to pay in cash, yes, ma'am.
So you said?
No problem. I went down. I had to sign, show my ID. He wasn't present, but his wife, Tammy, was. I said, are you sure you're going to pay? She said, yes, we're going to pay. We're going to bring the truck back this evening, and we're going to pay. So I had to go to work, and I went ahead and left the matters in their hand.
So they put the $95 on your credit card, and they never paid for it in cash?
Yes,
How you
Yes?
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. Let's get down to business. Do you owe this lady $95?
Yes, I do.
So why are you here?
Well, basically, it's like that happened when I did have the money. She wasn't in town. She was out of state, so I ended up spending the money. So when she came back, I told her...
Just a minute. You rented the truck.
Yes.
And you had the money.
Yes.
In cash.
Yes. No, not at the time that she rented the truck.
That's what you told me.
So then you got the money.
You're right.
How much later did you get the money?
It was about a week later.
So why didn't you send it to her?
I didn't have an address for her. Plus, when I had the money, she was gone out of state.
Actually, the money was supposed to be paid that day. The credit card was only to hold a truck because you can't get one without a credit card. He was supposed to pay that day, either that night or the next morning they dropped off the truck.
No, because I told her I didn't have the money, because if I did, I would have gave her the money that day.
If that was the case, I would have never let him rent a truck on my credit card, knowing he may have done that to me.
If she knew
I assume you have the money
money
today. Listen, I assume you have the money today.
No, I do not.
Well, you better get it. Do you work?
Yes, I do. But she owed me.
She owes you for what?
Well, back on March the 22nd, or at the end of March, my daughter babysitted her kids. Her kids got out of hand one time, and they was just basically running in and out the dining area where my cabinet was, and they ended up breaking my champagne glasses for a wedding.
That was never, I never did know anything about it.
I told her about it.
March?
And yes, when Toya kept the kids that day.
Just a second.
And I told her that the glasses cost $150. It was our wedding champagne. It was engraved with our name on it and everything. She said she was going to pay me back.
This is all new to me. I've never even heard this.
Mr. Amos, that really has no... You can't set off, sir. What you're looking to do is set off the champagne glasses for the $95 that you owe her. Let me tell you this. If your daughter...
It has nothing to do with that. I mean, you know, it's like she said she was going to pay me. That's just like the same thing I'm supposed to pay her. I'm going to pay her and she ain't paying me.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, I want to tell you something. I'm not deciding that lawsuit with the broken champagne glasses, but if I was deciding that lawsuit, this would be my decision. Pay careful attention. Your daughter, who is how old?
She's 16 now.
She assumed the responsibility of taking care of these two children. It was her responsibility to see to it that the two children were supervised at all times, and if there was anything in the house that could be broken or whatever, it was her responsibility to see to it that those things were out of harm's way. Do you understand?
Yeah, but I had told her kids several times to stay out the dining area. They were supposed to have been in the play area.
Then what you have to do is tell your daughter, who would assume the responsibility for those children, to take the children outside. Do you understand?
But it was at night.
Hey, Mr. Amos, you got an answer for every question. You owe her the money. Period. End of discussion. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $95. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out the back to your right. Sheriff, step forward, please.
30-year-old optometrist Svetlana Fisher is suing her stepmother, Raisa Fisher, for money left in her late father's estate. Raisa is countersuing for his funeral expenses.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 35 on the calendar in the matter of Fisher versus Fisher. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
It's always sad when families are ripped apart when somebody dies. Miss Fisher, according to your complaint, the defendant, who is your father's second wife,
correct,
took money from the estate and really appropriated it. And her defense is, I assume, based upon your answer, well, she did do that, but you didn't pay for any part of your dad's funeral. Is that what this case is about? Hmm?
Yes.
How old was your dad when he died?
He was 57 years old.
Was it a sudden? 58?
59.
Was his death sudden?
It was a very sudden death after an unsuccessful heart surgery last August.
And your dad, I assume, did not have a will?
He did not have a will, no.
Mrs. Fisher, how long had you been married to Mr. Fisher before he died?
We were married legally almost 3 years, but we lived longer. We lived together almost four and a half years.
But you only were married for 3 years?
Yeah.
And I assume, Miss Fisher, that your father did not have a will?
That's correct. And my stepmother, I went to the bank the next day after my dad died, and the people at the bank told me, I'm so sorry about your father. I said, how do you know? They said, well, your stepmother was here closing all of the accounts. That was the next day after he died, before even he was buried. So she had closed all of their joint account the next day.
All right, so there was certain money that was in joint accounts.
That's correct.
That's not the basis of your lawsuit.
That's correct.
What is the basis of your lawsuit, Mrs.
My father had an account way before they were married in a stock account. It was his sole account in his sole name.
It's not true.
When he died, there was $19,090.84. We had started.
Let's round it out to $20,000.
Okay.
There was $20,000 in this stock account that you say was in your dad's name alone.
That's correct. And I have papers here to
Can I see what you have, please?
Yes, this shows that the papers were in his name alone. This shows how much money and that it went to Raisa's account when she closed it. And here's a letter with her stating to transfer all of the funds to now her new account from that account. We had started with...
On what date did your father pass away?
August 6, 96.
Well, this withdrawal was made on October 9th.
That's correct.
Did you withdraw all of this money, this $19,090 from the stock account?
No, I didn't withdraw him because...
Did you transfer it to a different account?
It took a long time while they processed the claim and they gave me the money. It wasn't like that. It wasn't anything like it.
Well, if your husband died without a will, and this account was in his name...
Yeah, but the stocks he bought and sold together being married to me, they were purchased and sold during the marriage, so it's a community property.
Who told you that?
Who told me that?
Yeah.
Well, my lawyer told me that, and I know it because we were...
That's not true.
He was buying
no,
and selling.
No, that's not true. You have a statement of the net worth of the account prior to their marriage 3 years ago? What was the...
No, she doesn't have that.
Well, do you?
That's not true.
Do
Yes,
you?
I do.
Well, how much was in the account 3 years ago?
Nothing. When I married him, he lived in a very little apartment. Everything was from the garage sale. That's how
Mrs.
his
Fisher,
first
Mrs. Fisher.
wife left him.
Mrs. Fisher,
He
don't
didn't have
try to deflect my attention.
No, I don't.
He had a stock fund.
Right.
Now, if he only had $1,000 in that stock fund that was in his name alone at the time you married, and during the course of your marriage, you both contributed to the stock fund, and it was built up to $20,000, I may agree with you.
Yes, we did contribute it together.
I might, if you could, did you have things in both your names?
In the
In
stock?
joint names? No, not the stock. You had things in both your names. Is that correct?
Of course, everything we have in both names.
Not this. This was only in his name.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Well, if this is
but
only in
doesn't
his
matter.
name, what?
Doesn't matter whose name it is, because I was married to him. It's a community.
No.
We were buying and selling it together. He was unemployed most of the time.
Mrs. Fisher, you just told me in your answer, and I want you to make sure that you tell me the truth, madam, because I'm like a truth machine. You told me that you're struggling, that you don't make a lot of money, and that it was very, very hard for you to pay for his funeral because you don't make any money, right? That's what you told me. So how could you say
That's
that you
right.
contributed to stocks?
Yes, I did, because I had money in my account before I was married. I had money. I had an IRA account.
Show me withdrawals that you gave, and show me where you made withdrawals to put in to purchase stocks.
Yes, I will.
Okay, good.
Judge, I want to
Just a
say...
second. I want to see that. That's very important. I want to see the money that you took out of your accounts and trace that money to giving it to your husband to purchase stocks.
I have that I contributed to IRA, which
I'm not
is...
interested in your IRA. I'm not interested in the IRA. I'm interested, madam, in his stock account.
Yeah,
because clearly...
I have that I took from my account. They took it from me. I don't know
Well, that
where
they
it
took
is.
it from you, we'll wait till you get it.
Yeah.
Bird, we'll take
And
a
here,
recess,
and
get
here,
it.
by the way, the stocks, that they all were bought, that one that I sold, they all were bought in 1996.
So?
Bought and sold when we
So?
were married.
Mrs. Fisher, I know you've got it in your head that if your husband bought and sold securities while you were married, that's community property.
Right.
No! Wrong! Wrong. I'm going to tell you why. Let's say in 1940, her father bought Pepsi-Cola at $2 a share. And he decided to sell his Pepsi-Cola in 1996 when it's worth, I don't know, $200 a share. Are you suggesting to me that that becomes community property because it's sold when you're married?
No.
Now, are you suggesting to me that if he sold Pepsi-Cola and he bought IBM with the proceeds because he bought it and sold it while you were married, that the IBM becomes yours? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not suggesting anything.
No, no, no. I'm trying to follow your logic. You say
The
because he
logic
bought and sold these stocks while you were married,
That's right.
that they're yours.
Yes.
Well, and so I asked you a simple question. Assuming that your husband bought Pepsi-Cola in 1940 and sold it in 1996 and bought IBM with the profit that he made.
No, but
Yep,
these
yep.
stocks...
You believe that stock in IBM would be community property and therefore be yours.
I don't know, you know better.
Right, I know better. Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's bitter and angry because my mother was the one who took my dad to the hospital when he died.
It's my card.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stepdaughter Svetlana Fisher claims stepmother Raisa Fisher kept all the money from her late father's estate. Raisa says it was left to her alone.
Did you ever sign a document that said that you were his sole heir and beneficiary?
Pardon?
Did you ever sign a document indicating that you were his sole heir and beneficiary?
No, but I was giving the letter that I was solely responsible for all his financial matters by Svetlana, that I am his widow, responsible for everything.
We're talking apples and oranges, madam. She says that you signed a document with a stock account that she wants to give me right now. Is that the document?
Under penalty of perjury.
Just a second. Show it to her, please, and see if that's her signature. That you signed this document saying that you were his sole heir. Is that your signature?
Yes, on that account,
Good.
yes.
Can I see it?
That's the only account.
No,
that
that's
I'm
two
suing for.
accounts.
This is the only
that
account
she
that I'm
received
suing
her
her.
sister and her received.
I have not received anything.
That's
not
right,
a
because
penny.
she wasn't even a beneficiary on his IRA account. I don't think she deserved anything.
Just a second. She says that she's not interested in anything else and she has not gotten any other money.
And she's not...
Just a second. That's what she said. So this is the only thing. This says you signed it. No other person has a right to the decedent's interest in the above property.
Yeah, because I believe it's my money. Exactly my money.
Do you know what the law is in the state of California with regard to someone who dies without a will?
But that's not...
Do you know what the law is in the state of California with regard to someone who dies without a will, Mrs. Fisher? How their property is distributed if they have children. Mrs. Fisher, you're not a...
Yeah, but these children, you can ask my sister if anybody saw her ever at his house. She didn't want to know. She has no relationship. She's 31 years old. She never showed her face. When he was on a deathbed, she left for the wedding and left. I begged her, please don't leave. She said, we'll see about it. And she went to Utah for her boyfriend, sister wedding. And he was dying there. And when she came back, she was angry with me. Why didn't you disconnect him? Why you let him suffer like that?
Mrs.
She started
Fisher,
hating me for that.
Mrs. Fisher, 10 minutes ago, you tried to deflect my attention from something. My court officer has known me for 15, 20 years. He will tell you that I have a mind like a vice. The question I asked you was, in the state of California, you know that when you die without a will, your property is divided if you have a wife, between your wife and your children, and if you don't have a wife, and if you just have children, then it's just the children, and if you just have grandchildren, then it's the grandchildren. So you knew that she was entitled to 1/3.
No, I didn't. My lawyer told me that
Don't tell me what your lawyer told you.
Yeah, that's what he
Don't tell
told
me what your lawyer told you. You believe that because these stocks were bought and sold during the course of the time that you lived together, that's community
accounts,
property.
Though. He had 2 accounts, which they collected the same almost amount that I collected.
Just a second, she didn't collect anything.
Because her father didn't count her in, even on IRA. Ask why she's not on it. Her name wasn't even there.
That was a different sister. Her other sister collected because that property was left. Her sister was the beneficiary.
She was the younger beneficiary for anything.
She was the Mrs. Fisher, I'm just going to ask you a couple more questions, please, and then I'm going to finish this case. When you married your husband 3 years ago,
that's right.
How much money did you have in the bank?
Who? Me?
You.
It's your business. Excuse me? I have $20,000 on my own.
Show me.
Show?
Yeah.
Why
Show
should
me.
I?
You had $20,000 of your own.
Yes. I have an IRA that I put my both children on it, but he didn't because the way they were behaving, they weren't close at all.
Mrs. Fisher, you had $20,000 when you married him.
Yes.
In your own IRAs, is that right?
On my IRA, right.
You still have your IRA?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Still have your IRA. And how much did you collect from your husband's estate up until today's date?
How much I collected?
Yes. How much money?
$19,000. $19,000.
Just on the single.
And I spent $9,000 for the funeral.
Just a second. $19,000.
Right.
That's all you collected was $19,000. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
That is only on his own account with his own name. That does not contribute to the car that he had fully paid and all their joint accounts.
I'm talking about everything. The joint accounts, Mrs. Fisher, not only this $19,000.
We only have one checking account, and that's it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Okay, now you can go shopping for the next husband to rob.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Raisa Fisher says her late husband did not want his daughter to benefit from the money he left behind. Svetlana Fisher says her father left her at least part of the money.
How much money was there, Miss Fisher, in the joint accounts? Do you
I don't know. I have no idea. I never inquired.
It's what?
How much we had? Like five? I don't remember now. Maybe 3,000, maybe 5,000. I don't remember now.
Well, this is money that you owe her. There was $19,000. How many sisters do you have?
My sister had a lawsuit that she was in court last month, and she won. And Raisa is appealing that, but she won because it was, again, 1/3, same situation. I believe that she is countersuing me for any funeral expenses because she's bitter and angry because my mother was the one who took my dad to the hospital when he died, not her.
It was my card. It was my card.
Insurance card.
Judge Judy, can I tell you something?
And she's just bitter and angry because
I'm
my
not
father
I
had
don't mind
friendly relationship.
Let me say something, okay? My husband didn't keep his job. He was a very good engineer, but mostly he was doing stocks. That was like his job. And he was in and out of job, never had insurance. After extensive surgery 2 years ago, I continued working for a minimum wage almost. I'm working for May company, okay? And sustaining that insurance that they didn't cost him, instead of being grateful to me, my insurance paid over $300,000 for his illness, for her father's illness. And I was there day and night, in and out of the emergency room because I had a nervous breakdown. So that's how close I was to my husband, how I loved him, and I was there for him. But she wasn't. She went to the wedding. She went to the wedding when he was dying. I don't think she does not deserve any money. Nothing. None.
Well, I'm telling you right now, you are mistaken. You are mistaken.
I don't know. And plus,
you don't know. I'm telling you.
She's an optometrist. She drives Lexus. She lives south of Boulevard. Look at me. I live in a rundown apartment in Reseda. And I am poor. I am the one poor. She's rich.
Listen to me.
Mrs.
Fisher, I want you to listen to me, madam. Listen to me.
Okay.
Very carefully.
Yeah.
Right? You were not married to your husband for 30 years.
Doesn't matter.
Listen to me. No, there's a certain equity, madam. I want to explain. There's a certain equity. If you were married to this man for 30 years, I would have a lot more sympathy in your position when you say, look, I need the money. I'm poor. I understand that he had children from a prior relationship, but we cared for each other. We had a life together for 30 years. You were married for 3 years before he died.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I'm not a greedy person. Absolutely not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. a stepmother and daughter at war over her father's estate. Svetlana and Raisa Fisher are fighting over the money left behind.
Read
You
this
had
letter,
plenty of
please.
money.
Can
Listen
you
to
read
me,
this
Mrs.
letter,
Fisher,
please?
you have a countersuit.
That Svetlana says that she has no relevance to
You
his...
have a countersuit for the funeral expenses. You are not, they are not responsible for the funeral expenses.
Why am I then responsible?
No,
I'm
you're
only
not.
3 years married.
I want to explain something to you. If you had to go into your own money to pay for your husband's funeral expenses, I would, as a matter of equity, see to it that they had to contribute to that. You just told me a moment ago you are whole. You came into this marriage 3 years ago with $20,000 in your IRA. You still have $20,000 in your IRA.
No, I have
in
more
addition,
than that.
well, now you have more, but certainly you didn't go into your own personal...
22,000.
Hey, I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
You didn't go into your own personal money to pay for your husband of 3 years for his funeral. He left more than sufficient amount of money to pay for his funeral.
Yeah, but I'm not the one suing. They made my life hell. They dragged me to courts in and out, both of them. Ask when his daughter visited her father, or ask or give him something for the Father's Day last year. What did they give him? They didn't give him
Please,
anything.
listen to me. Listen to me. Your lawsuit seeks $5,000. You are owed under this,
Thank you.
under the account that should have been distributed under the laws of intestacy. In this and most other jurisdictions, you are owed in at minimum $6,000.
Exactly.
And therefore, I am awarding you $5,000. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff, $5,000. The countersuit for the funeral expenses is dismissed. The deceased paid for his own funeral expenses out of his own money. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you very much.
Back door to your
She
right.
doesn't deserve a penny.
And on the next Judge Judy.
We had a very close relationship.
Never saw her face this
That's correct, because she wouldn't allow us to come to the house. My dad would come to our house. They would never
Our own children would steal money from our father's wallet, okay? And he told us that he only had 2 children, us, and not a drug addict child.
You never show your face anywhere.
Thank you.
You greedy people.
I am greedy.
Yeah.
You don't...
Parties on Palmer versus Palmer. Step forward, please.
A father confronts his own daughter in Judge Judy's court. 45-year-old sales executive David Palmer is suing his 17-year-old daughter Vanessa. He says she left home with a car she didn't pay for.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 46 on the calendar in the matter of Palmer versus Palmer. All parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
This is a pretty sad situation.
Very sad.
Mr. Palmer, this is your daughter, Vanessa. Vanessa, how old are you?
17.
And you're suing your daughter, Mr. Palmer, because you say that she left your home. And when she left, she took a car that had been purchased. And she owes you money for the car. You either want the car back or you want her to start paying you the money for the car. And she left your home under very unfortunate conditions. So I have a few questions, and then we're going to try to resolve this. Okay?
Okay.
All right, Vanessa?
Okay.
Now, when's your birthday?
August 28th.
You say you bought the car, you say for her, but she was supposed to make payments on the car.
Yes.
No, he bought the car for my birthday and because I got a job. And he told me to tell my friends that I had to pay him back so they wouldn't get jealous. But he told me it was for my birthday.
Could you both come up here for a minute? Mr. Palmer, I don't know what could motivate a parent other than anger to bring their 17-year-old to court. I'm sure it's not the money, right? Because her birthday, this car was bought almost a year ago, correct?
Correct.
And for a year, you didn't pay any money, right? You seem to acknowledge that.
Yes.
So why now?
Because over the past year, I had been asking when this was the only obligation that I asked of her throughout the entire period was that I will get a car for you. She wanted a brand new one, but I was not going to co-sign to
Which
purchase,
I would have been paying for.
to purchase a brand new car. Furthermore, going to school and working part-time, I really feel that it's not in your budget. So what I said I would do is purchase the car for her, pay cash. This eliminates finance charges. Also, you would only have to have the liability insurance, and I feel that it would best fit.
How much did you pay for the car?
It was around $900. Then,
So it wasn't an expensive car, and then it was in an accident, according to your papers. It took some
No,
fixing
it was
up.
stolen.
Or it was stolen and
Right.
it was trashed or something, and you
Yeah.
had to pay some money to fix it.
correct.
Step back, Mr. Palmer. Step back, Vanessa. First of all, Mr. Palmer, we're going to get to the emotional part of this case in a minute. How much is the insurance on the car, Vanessa?
$53 a month.
And you pay that?
Yes, I do.
And Mr. Palmer, how much did you tell your daughter she was supposed to pay you each month towards the purchase price of the car?
We had to establish, first of all, approximately what her income was going to be.
Did you have this discussion with your father?
No.
Hmm?
No. He never told me I had to pay him back for the car. Whenever he was upset with me or mad at me, he told me I owe him. But other than that, he never told me.
Your Honor, that's not true.
What I asked you, Mr. Palmer, was a very simple question. How much did you tell your daughter she had to pay you back each month for the car, like an installment loan? Give me the figure that you say you told her.
I didn't give her a figure. I was somewhere around $100 a month.
That's not a business arrangement, sir. Somewhere around $100 a month. So for a year, she didn't give you anything.
Yes.
That's while she
correct.
was living in your home.
Yes. Of which I had asked her over that year, when are we going to start fulfilling the obligation that we had agreed upon?
That was pretty much when you got angry with her? She says it was when you got angry with her, when
No.
she did something wrong.
No,
You mean-
Your Honor, that was not why I got angry at her.
Why did you go and live with your father in 1991, Vanessa?
Because it was a better living situation than with my mother. She was separated from my stepfather, so
Did your father take good care of you?
yeah.
Then you got to be 17, and according to these papers, you got a boyfriend.
Right.
And your father didn't approve of either the boyfriend or...
He approved of him until he found out he was my boyfriend, because he's friends with a neighbor of my dad's, and he says, "Oh, he's such a nice guy," and this and that. And then whenever he found out he was my boyfriend, he didn't approve. Actually, because he has a kid, he didn't approve.
He has a what?
A daughter.
He has a daughter?
Mm-hmm.
How old is his daughter?
6 months.
Vanessa.
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't have to bring coals to pilly on. Did you ever hear that? Vanessa. I was a family court judge for a very long time. Do you know how many times I've seen 16 and 17-year-old girls? Not all of them as pretty as you are. Tell me that they love a guy and he's got 2 or 3 kids floating around, right? Do you know how it sits on your father's shoulders when he sees his beautiful 17-year-old daughter dating a guy who has a 6-month-old baby? How irresponsible that is. How old is your boyfriend?
20.
20. And I assume he's a president of a bank or something. That's how he earns a living?
No, he was working until he broke his ankle.
He was working at what?
In a warehouse.
And now what is he doing?
He broke his ankle, and now he's on disability.
So now we have a 20-year-old on disability with a 6-month-old baby. And you wonder, I mean, I wish, Vanessa, that you could take yourself out of your 17-year-old body and make yourself 40 for a minute. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because he knows, if he's smart, how easy it is to throw away your life when you're 17 and to make a mistake when you're 17 and you can't recoup. The woman or the girl who had your boyfriend's 6-month-old baby is never going to be able to recoup her life. Don't you understand? If he liked him, he liked him. Then he found out he was your boyfriend and he's got a 6-month-old baby. You think that there's something wrong with your father for being angry at that and for saying to you, listen, babe, I'm going to do whatever I can to see to it that you don't ruin your life.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You hook your star to a loser, that makes you a loser.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Palmer says his 17-year-old daughter Vanessa had no right to take the car when she left home to live with her mother.
You're our mother. Stand up here. Stand up here. What's your name?
Donna.
What did you tell the daughter about this boyfriend?
She's dating him. She's not marrying him.
I don't care whether she's dating him or marrying him. Didn't you explain to her what the problems are?
When I found out that he had a child, I was a little upset about that. Other than that, I think he's fine.
You think a 20-year-old with a 6-month-old baby who's on disability is fine for your 17-year-old gorgeous daughter?
I think he, as a person, is fine.
Listen, there are a lot of very nice people. I have daughters. I have 2 of them. If my daughter, who was 17 years old, came home to me and said, I got a boyfriend who's 20 years old, who's on disability, who's got a 6-month-old kid, then he's not supporting because he's on disability.
Excuse me.
He still is supporting his daughter.
What can I do about that?
You can try to discourage her. Just a second, you can try to discourage her.
It was a done deed.
It's a done deed.
That's
right. She's in love with him.
She's in love with him.
I mean, they're not planning to marry, to run off together. They both live at separate residences. They're dating.
You know, maybe if your daughter had a unified, maybe if your daughter had a unified front with her parents, and both of her parents saying to her, this is a tremendous mistake, then maybe we wouldn't be in this situation, because I gather from these papers and from what you're saying that the reason your daughter left home was because you said, I don't want him in my house anymore.
She was thrown out.
Just a second.
He threw her out.
What happened, sir?
No, Your Honor, that is not true. That is not true. That is not true at all. When I stated that it is not in her best interest to see this young man anymore because of what we have been discussing, was when it all broke loose. She said, well, fine, then. And she said this in the presence of my 2 younger ones, because I walked outside to kind of cool off a little bit. That fine, then, I will go live with my mother.
No.
That is not what happened.
Well, you weren't there. Just a second. You weren't there. So you tell me your version of what happened.
We were arguing and he was yelling at me. And he yelled at me to help my sister with her homework. So I did. And he was still yelling, and I yelled back, why are you yelling at me when I'm helping you? And he said, don't yell at me, shut up or get out. And I said, fine, then I'll go. And he said, take all your, well, he didn't say stuff, but.
Was it about turning on?
Mr. Palmer.
Tell her that.
That was a heated argument. You understand how that falls on a 17-year-old. You understand how that falls on her, even if, you know, even said in anger. If it was said in anger. But you were looking for a reason to leave the house.
No, I wasn't. He told me all the time, I can't wait till you're 18. Since you have to stay here, I'm going to make it hell for you.
Oh, please.
I'm going to make you want to leave.
Is that what he said to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why would he say that to you?
Ask him.
Who are you?
My name is Victoria, and he had told her right in front of me, well, maybe I would love her if she lived at a friend's house. And I thought that was very wrong.
That's sure. It's very wrong. Bottom line is, everything was okay until you got the boyfriend.
Everything wasn't okay, but that just added to it.
I was under the impression that he was all for the boyfriend.
He let him come over to the house. He went with us to my aunt's house on Easter.
That's where I got my input about
Well, then
the
what
boyfriend.
happened? Then there must have been something that happened. If he was in favor of the boyfriend or was not opposed to the boyfriend, he must have found something out. What did he find out? Find out about the baby?
About the baby. He knew he had the baby.
Right.
No, he knew that. He knew
There
that.
we go.
Hey!
Thank
Excuse
you.
me.
Listen, Vanessa.
Thank you.
You didn't.
knew
You
he had-
misunderstood what she said.
He knew that my boyfriend had a baby.
He approved
wasn't
of
against
the boyfriend. He approved of him. I'm serious.
He told me that I could still hang around him if he got a court order with child support and did everything through court. He pays child support for his daughter. He does everything right.
Just a
told
second.
me
He can't
if-
pay child support. Hold on a second. This is getting more interesting by the moment. Mr. Palmer, just a second. Just a second. What you just said to me is, even after he found out about the baby, he said, you could still hang around with him, but I want him to act responsibly towards the baby. I want him to get an order of support and pay it.
He already does.
No. Is that what your father said to you?
Yes.
Is that what your father said to you?
He said that if he had a court order for child support and a court-ordered visitation, then it would be okay.
That sounds pretty reasonable to me, sir. I wouldn't be so reasonable, I tell you that right now.
Well,
The reason he didn't go through court, he pays child support and he has visitation. They have a written agreement between the two of them. The reason he doesn't take her to court is because his family is totally against that. So.
You are getting yourself into such a barrel of horse manure. I can't tell you. And to see a mother stand there in an approving manner about this whole thing is, to me, bizarre. Mr. Palmer, listen to me, sir. All I can suggest to you, sir, is to keep your door open for your daughter.
He changed the locks.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Oh, yeah, you guys are
I'm
real
not sure.
intelligent,
Can you
aren't
tell me
you?
that?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Palmer wants his teenage daughter, Vanessa, to meet her responsibilities by paying for the car she took when she moved out of his home.
All I can suggest to you, sir, is to keep your door open for your daughter. She is, at this point in her life, making a tragic mistake. Tragic.
Yes.
I will not be able to get through to her. You have not been able to get through to her.
Nope.
She's got a mother who's got her head someplace in the clouds somewhere.
Very true.
Right?
Correct.
Right?
Very
But
true.
I'm telling you, Vanessa, you find yourself with a 6-month-old baby, madam.
Mm-hmm.
Your life is over. And you're a very pretty girl, and you sound like an intelligent girl. You sound like you probably do well in school. You have a job in addition to going to school, which suggests to me that you're motivated. You have a certain responsibility because you pay for your own car insurance. And I'm telling you, you hook your star to a loser, that makes you a loser. And any 20-year-old guy who's dumb enough to have a 6-month-old baby is a loser.
He's going to become a fireman. He's not a
He's
loser.
right now listen.
What?
Listen, gonna become a fireman isn't making him a fireman now. Right now, he's a 20-year-old on disability with a
It wasn't his
6-month-old
fault he
baby.
broke his ankle.
Listen to me.
He has, this is
Say
him.
nothing. Are you the boyfriend?
Yes.
You the boyfriend? I would suggest that you keep your mouth shut.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David and Vanessa Palmer, a father and daughter, are fighting over the car she took when she moved in with her mother.
Mr. Palmer, I have to dismiss your lawsuit, and I'm going to tell you why, sir. I was really hoping that when I looked at these papers, I could get beyond your lawsuit and see what this was all about and maybe resolve it. I can't. I mean, I can't. She's going to have to come to terms with that herself, but your daughter's 17. She's a minor. And you cannot get a judgment against a minor because right now you are her legal guardian, correct?
True.
So if I were to give you a judgment against your daughter as her legal guardian, you would be responsible for it. Do you understand that?
You're suing yourself.
Be suing yourself.
Do you understand that? She's a minor.
No, I do not.
Listen to me. I don't know.
Legal guardian.
Hey!
Whatever.
She does not reach the age of majority in this or any other jurisdiction until she turns the minimal age of 18. which means you cannot get a judgment against her. You can get a judgment, however, if she's committed a tort or something else against her guardian. But you, sir, are her lawful guardian. So if I were to give you a judgment against your daughter, you would have to pay it. That sounds kind of stupid, doesn't it? Since you're paying anyway. Now, you can, sir, wait until your daughter turns 18. And then in equity, if you still want to, you can reinstitute this suit. But right now, you cannot sue your daughter. I don't think it was without some value, Mr. Palmer. I don't think that getting this piece out was without some value. I think that your daughter, Vanessa, will at least think a little bit. Vanessa, I have never, in the thousands of times that I've seen young women like you, in cases like yours, it's not unique, I have never seen one of them where the woman, young woman, doesn't find herself behind the 8 ball. And you may be angry with your dad, but if this is all over the boy, and I gather it is, he's right, you're wrong. You'll figure that out in 5 years' time. Unfortunately, in 5 years' time, it may be too late, which is really what he's saying. And if your mother doesn't see that, she's got clouded vision. This case is dismissed, that's all.
So excuse, you may step out. Versus Robinson Hall. Step forward, please.
Renee Nickerson, a Los Angeles beautician, is suing Rena Robinson and Rena's mother, Valina Hall, over injuries she says she received during a violent fight over a lost screw to a video game.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 38 on the calendar in the matter of Nickerson versus Robinson Hall. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Nickerson, you are suing the defendants for assault.
Yes.
For injury to your arm, to your finger.
And my foot. I have a communicative fracture on my foot.
All right, well, why don't you tell me first, before we get to your injuries, I gather that the defendant's son was playing at your house with some of your children.
Yeah. Well,
is that right?
Yeah.
And there was a toy that was broken by her son.
A little toy.
What kind of toy was it?
It's a little Nintendo cartridge. I went to the defendants to ask them, did they have a screw that I can put into my, well, actually, it wasn't my son's game, it was my nephew's game. To put, could they help me put it back together?
Let me stop. After the toy was broken, according to your complaint, you went to the defendant's house.
I went there.
And you said, do you have a screw that you can fix the game with because your son broke the game?
Before I went there, I sent the boys,
hand down, please.
My nephew and my son over there. And they called me and asked me why did I send the kids over there. They didn't understand what they were talking about. You know, they didn't understand. Tell me what you're talking about. I said, I'll be over there in a minute. But I didn't know that, well, by the time I got there, I didn't know I was going to have to fight for my life to get out.
Well, what happened when you got there?
Well, when I got there, I was trying to explain to Renee.
Who's Renee?
That's
Rena. Rena.
She's Renee. Well, they told me her name was Renee. And anyway, I was trying to explain to her about this screw. And she kept yelling, and I told her, I said, okay, forget about it. You obviously want to fight. So I was trying to get out. And before I knew it, they had jumped on me.
Who's they?
She, her mom, and her brother.
You're the mother?
Yes, I am. I didn't find it funny. I've been in the cast for about 2 months, and I'm still being treated.
And you don't know why this happened?
Well, I have a pretty good idea.
Well, let me hear your idea, because right now I really don't understand why you have injuries.
We have yeah, I don't either. I mean, I don't
understand it either. So tell me why you think this happened.
We had a mutual friend, and he was pretty nice to me. He did a lot of things for me. I think Val may have been in love with him. I don't know. He claimed he was in love with me, but I didn't share those same feelings.
So you think that this was all over a man?
That's what I think. Well, the man had died. And the man died. I didn't go to his funeral. And a couple of days after that is when this setup, I believe it was a setup. This is what happened, because I can't understand why they would get that mad over a little Nintendo game, a screw. I have a lot of kids over at my house all the time. Val and I have had problems with the kids before, but we've always been able to talk about it.
That's you?
We've always been able to talk about whatever problems we ever had. We've always been able to talk about it. But this particular time, there was no talking.
Okay. Rena?
Yes.
Let's hear your version of this, please.
Okay. Sunday is when I heard that, well, my son, he was at our house playing Sunday for a couple of hours just before we was going to start our day. And I had told her, you know, she was fixing the kids' lunch and stuff. I told her, don't worry about mine, because I would be picking him up about 3, because we had movie engagements and planned for that day. But after I dropped him off back after Sunday and everything like that, never mentioned about the screw. Even after I picked him up, because I still don't know when the screw got lost and everything. So when I dropped him off at his father's, I went off with a friend, and we were gone for like 2 days out of town. And when I came back that Tuesday, which was the 22nd, is when I heard about the screw. She called the house saying that I said, why did you send these children? She said, because I figured you could help them. And I'm like, help them with what? A screw. What kind of screw? A screw to a game. I'm asking, is this game still broken, or is it broken? Does it work? I haven't checked that. She's assuming that she's talking to my mother. I'm letting her know you are talking to me while she's being loud and ruly. I will be there. When she got there, she bammed on the door like she was a detective, and I asked her why. She said, because I wanted to make sure you heard me. Come on in. She's still going on about the screw. She never said anything about the game. She always focused on a screw. I got out a screw bucket where I keep little tools and stuff. Let's get us one. I offered her to sit down. She sat down for a half a second and jumped back up, and when she did that, not knowing her, because I can prove that I've only been here, just got in town. I don't know her. She's my mother's company. Okay?
Fine.
Yeah, and so when she jumped up in my face, not knowing what she had done or what she'd been doing over her house before or why she was calling, and because she still had hostility and rage in her voice, in her and everything, and all I did was defend myself when she jumped in my face.
Just a second. All right, let's take this slowly, Rena.
Yes.
She's sitting on the couch. And where are you? Sitting or standing?
No, it's a little love seat. And before she could sit down, when she sat down before I could sit down, she was back up and I rose up.
I have to get this as a mental picture.
Okay.
You are standing.
Yeah. Talking to her like this, like we're side by side.
Right.
And I said, sit down, let's talk.
You said sit down.
Uh-huh.
She starts to sit down. And you're still standing.
Before I could even get there.
No, not before. You're still standing.
Yes, I am.
So she sits and you're standing, and then she just jumps up.
Just like that.
And then you, Rena, look at me. Then you did what?
Then when she did that, because
she did that. She jumped up. Just tell me what you did.
When I jumped up, I lynched back, and she did like this, and then that's when
You what?
I
Get
defended
it out.
myself when she
no,
put her.
You didn't say. I don't want you to tell me defend myself.
Anyway,
I want you
when
to tell
she
me.
put her hands in my face, I put my hands in hers.
No, Rena.
I did.
Rena, listen to me. Listen to me, Rena.
I did.
Listen to me, Rena. Rena,
okay.
pay attention to me, madam. She jumped up.
Yes.
Because I read your answer.
Yes.
She didn't put her hands on you. But you put your hands on her, and I want you to tell me exactly what you did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I mean, it really isn't funny for two adult women who have children to indulge themselves in this kind of behavior. So believe me, it's not funny.
Cases, real people, Judge Judy. Renee Nickerson says she was attacked by Rena Robinson after she tried to talk to her about a screw that came loose from a video game.
And I want you to tell me exactly what you did.
That's what I did. When she jumped up.
No, you didn't. You didn't tell me what you did.
When she jumped up, I put my hands in her face to strike her or whatever.
In her face is not telling you, but she didn't get these injuries from putting your hands in her face.
Okay, in her face, on her, or whatever.
No, not whatever. Let's get back. Rena, let's get back to it, Rena.
Get back to it. This is how it went. When she jumped up.
Show me on your mother.
Okay, when she jumped, seriously. When she went to go sit down and she jumped up in my face like this, and I went back, and when she brought her hands to me, I didn't know what she was going to do, and I pushed them back, and then she launched back, and that's when we had the conflict back and forth.
So you put your hands on her. first.
First, because I didn't know what she was going to bring to me.
I was trying to leave.
Just a second. You put your hands on her first.
Okay, well then I accept that.
Well, that's what happened.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you just put your hands on her, and you were showing me with your mother that you just sort of held both hands.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
This, I don't know, because
don't know.
the ambulance did not come, no rescue squad or anything like that. So
Yes, they did.
I
I called the ambulance and I called the police.
Okay.
Now,
how did you get involved in this?
Okay. Renee and I had discussed this Sunday. We talked about the losing of the screw and the Nintendo game. So
You talked about it with the plaintiff.
That's
Renee.
right. Okay. And I told her, I said, well, what do you want Renee to do? Pay for the game or what? She said, no, all I need is a screw. See, can you find a screw? And I said, okay. Hung up the phone, and that was that. We never discussed it anymore. Well, I thought it was settled as she had discussed it with me. So Rena came in that Tuesday, and I was getting ready because I was going in the hospital the next day. And I was laying down in the bed relaxing. That's when I heard them talking on the phone. Rena said, Mama, she assumed that she was talking to you. All the time she was talking to me. So when I heard she said she was coming over, well, at that time, Rena had walked out of my room and was halfway in the living room laughing about it. So Renee walked to the door, and she, bam, 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 bam. I jumped up because I didn't know what was going on. So I wanted to know who was knocking on my door and that rapid raid. So by the time I got there, Renee said, why are you knocking on the door like that? She said, I wanted to make sure that you heard me.
Okay.
And Rena let her in. Okay. Then she told her, she said, come on in and sit down. Rena was standing like this, and Renee was getting ready to sit down. She went to sit and jumped up. At that time, I guess she said, well, I don't need to sit down. We just get it over with, the discussion. So Rena said, what is it pertaining to? And it was all about a screw. So she said that, I guess when Renee jumped up, Renee didn't know what she was going to do. And at that time, as in anger in her, she didn't know whether she had a weapon or what.
Just tell me what happened. Okay. Don't tell me what was in somebody's mind. I want to hear what happened.
Okay. And, all right. So this is what happened. They got to fighting.
No, you don't get to fighting. Somebody fights first.
Well, that's what I had said. Okay. Rena put her hands on her first.
How?
Well, like...
When she came
No,
to
no,
me.
no.
No, not
you
you.
already told me. Now your mother's going to tell me.
She was
no, listen to me. I'm just saying. No, you say nothing. Your mother is going to show me.
Okay. She pushed her back.
She pushed her.
Okay.
And then what happened?
Then the other one pushed back too. So then they got together and started tussling. And I tried to tell them to stop. I never touched her. Never did. I touched my own daughter, trying to make her stop because it was unnecessary to fight over a screw. Okay, so then they got to really going at it. So when I did get them apart, Renee went out of the door. She was standing there at the door. Then my Renee hit her again because she wasn't moving out the door fast enough.
Where did she hit her?
Okay, I think she slapped her or hit her up.
Slapped her in the
face. Yeah, she slapped her. Yeah, she did. Okay, but when they really got to tussling again, it was outside the door in the complex.
You mean after your daughter hit her in the face?
Yeah, they went on out.
She jumped at me about 3 or 4 times.
Oh, okay. Anyway, they went on out, and they still was tussling.
Aren't you ashamed of yourselves?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As far as me jumping on her, I'll do better on jumping on Godzilla. Look how big she is.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renee Nickerson and Rena Robinson are in dispute about a fight that broke out over a broken video game.
Aren't you ashamed of yourselves? You recently came to your mother's house.
Yes.
Your mother has had a relationship with this lady, evidently a pleasant one, for a long time, right? Where were you that you were away?
I was in Alabama.
Did you live there?
Yes, I was.
So you just came to visit?
I came back because I was living in California before, and then I moved away because I was working and different things like that.
But your son always lived with your mother?
My son lives with his father.
Lives with his father.
He was just visiting.
He was just visiting.
He was just visiting.
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions for you, and then I'm going to get back to how these injuries occurred. Why is it that you didn't tell her right away when you were talking to her on the phone that I'm Rena, I'm not my mother?
She was too loud. She didn't hear me. I tried to
She
tell
did.
her that.
She did.
She was very, very loud, and she wouldn't listen.
Why would she be loud talking to your mother?
Because something, I don't know.
Had you ever had any difficulty with Renee before?
Not really. Not really.
Well,
Nothing was that we couldn't solve.
Well, then that seems kind of strange, doesn't it? I mean, the last conversation, according to you, that you had was just about a screw, and we'll take care of it.
Right.
So it doesn't sit right with me that she would call and be hostile with you on the phone.
Yes, she was.
Well, you don't know that. Your
No.
daughter told you she
Right.
was.
Okay. No, I don't know
No, your
that.
daughter told you she was hostile
Yeah, but
on
I
the
was
phone.
laying right there listening to the whole conversation.
No, you weren't. You only heard your daughter's end of the conversation.
okay.
Right?
He said she was in the room sick.
That's where the phone is in Mother's room.
Well, whatever. She wasn't.
We'll take that too. Okay.
All right. Now, I want you to tell me not how this young lady assaulted you, but you say her mother assaulted you as well. The mother says that she was just trying to split you up.
Well, maybe she was, but she had drugged me, or one of them had drugged me on the floor.
One of them?
One of them.
But you're not sure whom?
I'm not sure who. By the time I got to the door, and as far as a weapon go, Your Honor, this is what I had on. A little 90 that she tore up. I didn't come over. I don't even have a weapon. I was standing at the door. Her son was holding me by both of my arms, and I've been trying to go home ever since she first started arguing. So anyway, finally she's finished fighting. I said, "Can I have my shoe?" Val gave...
What was she doing with your shoe?
My shoe came off during the fight. Val gave her my shoe. She took my shoe, threw it at my lip, busted my lip.
Who did?
This Renee.
Well, there's no question she assaulted you.
Okay.
No, listen to me. I want to explain something to you so that we can shorten this because I have other work to do today. There's no question that she assaulted you.
But Your Honor.
I'm asking about her mother.
Her mother?
I'm asking you whether you know if her mother assaulted you or whether she was just trying to break up this fight.
Now, see, that's what I'm not sure if she was trying to help Renee or trying to break it up because I have too many injuries for just one person.
Can I see your medical bills, please?
Sure. This is from Harvard General, and these are the radiology reports.
When she hit you at the door, listen to me. He's starting to talk. Let me ask my question first. Her mother, who I believe is an honest woman who's testified pretty credibly here today, that her own daughter slugged you in the face as you were trying to leave because you weren't moving fast enough. I don't know why you think this is funny. This really isn't funny.
It's not really.
I mean, it really isn't funny for two adult women who have children who were trying to set examples for their children to indulge themselves in this kind of behavior. So believe me, it's not funny.
It's not really about
funniness. I would like you to tell me, when she hit you at the door, did she slap you or punch you?
I don't even know. Your Honor, by the time I got my shoe, I'm trying to run out the door. I got outside the door. Next thing I know, Renee runs up behind me, put me in the headlock. I had to bite her so she could turn me loose. Then she threw me down on some bricks. Then she jumped on me again. And it took two men that lived next door, and those two men that lived next door, they had to pull her off of me. And then I got the cast. I had to wear the cast. I'm still supposed to be in the cast. I had to cut all my pants and alter my clothes. I've been miserable. This is misery. And it's all behind it. It was uncalled for. It shouldn't have even happened.
You're absolutely right. I still don't see a bill for your medical expenses.
There's no bill. Medi-Cal paid for my expenses.
So you had no out-of-pocket expenses, so you're suing for pain and
suffering.
You're suing for pain and suffering. Okay.
I couldn't use my this hand over. I still can't use my leg. And I don't even know when I'll be able to wear a pair of shoes again.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a facilitator.
What does that mean?
I'd hire myself out, housework, cooking, domestic.
And you're living with your mother now?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Well, this ridiculous screw is going to cost you $1,000.
Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, you still owe her an apology.
I'll apologize.
And I still don't know why you think that there's any amusement about this situation.
My smile is a part of my personality. It has nothing to do with humor.
I'm still being treated.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a beautician.
Have you been able to work?
I got my license.
No, listen to me. Have you been able to work?
No.
How are you supporting yourself?
AFDC and disability.
Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.